Everyone, thank you again for being part of our webinar, Exceptional Stays, Unveiling the Secrets of Tech Power Hospitality. As you see, Troy is here with me, our partner from StayFi, and today we'll be providing valuable insights into how technology is leading the way on guest experiences, specifically in the short-term rentals. So before we continue, there's something very important I want to know. So if you can just quickly answer to a poll that was just sent to you guys, we want to know where do you hear about for the webinar, just to understand, like, did you see this on the social media or on an email? And it's just information for us. That being said, sharing my screen. So for today, as I just said, Troy and I and myself will be the speakers and the hosts for the session. We have been structuring the conversation mainly in four parts, where we'll be discussing the latest trends that are going around specifically for tech-enabled hospitality. We'll talk a bit about leveraging automation, how to drive revenues through tech-driven marketing, and then some strategies for maximizing guest satisfaction and direct bookings. And then we'll wrap up a bit on how Safe and Doing contribute to an optimized tool stack, and then also the future trends that are going around in the holiday rentals landscape. So just to start, we all know, and Troy and I were just talking about that in recent years, the hospitality industry has just undergone a significant transformation, especially after the pandemic, and then last year and the last couple of months with the whole AI revolution, from online booking platforms, guest messaging, everything seems to be powered by AI these days. And that, of course, has changed a lot as well. The way guests experience the process from the start when they book a property until the actual experience. So that's something that we just wanted to talk about. And then even though that a lot of industry has been impacted by this technological advancement, the reality is that for short-term rental in specific, it has been a digitalized industry for a long time now. So it's true that some of the things that we have been using were already there, but I think the main shift now is that it's not longer a need. It's not longer an option. It's more than a need, because now these days, for example, property managers can survive without a PMS. Even if you're a small owner, you have to have a PMS. Another way, you cannot control the amount of bookings you're getting from the OTAs, right? So property managers really have to find new ways to meet the quota, see how they can maximize their revenue, and then at the same time satisfy these needs of new customers, which now they expect to have seamlessly communication. They expect to have efficient services. They expect someone to answer them 24/7 whenever they are in a property. This is a lot. Then considering that you also have operational tasks such as cleanings, such as maintenance, issues, anything that regularly will happen on a short-term rental. And then if on top of that you add the summer season, then it can very easily convert into a chaos. So that's where automation really comes into place. We already, like I was saying before, the industry is very technological, but it's also a very high competitive market. The regions are changing a lot. For example, in Europe, we're experimenting these changes in the regulations, and a lot of property managers are worried about that. But that also rises the problem of competitive market, right? So a lot of properties that are in the same places are trying to compete for the same guests. And how can you really focus on that necessity while you don't have your operations tied together? This is where the key comes into place, really. As I was saying before, for example, property managers cannot longer live without a PMS. But I think very soon they won't be able to live either without a property operation solutions. So reality is by utilizing advanced tools, platforms, any solutions that can effectively help you manage your properties, your tasks, and anything that's operational or manually done right now can help you optimize your properties and really see where are the gaps where you can grow in terms of revenue streams. So some of the most common examples of software, I've already said PMS. It's true that, for example, another thing that is booming a lot and a lot of people is using is dynamic prices. So maybe you've heard about Price Labs or Beyond Pricing. A lot of these tools are getting um, a lot of traction because at the end it's very easy. It's another tool that is AI powered, and what it can do is that the pricing algorithms just work themselves out. So you don't have to be worrying about how much my property is going to cost today versus how much it's going to cost on July 21st, for example. So at the end of the day, anything that you can add to this tool stack, again, will help you optimize your revenue streams. And and for example, we also have financial reporting, we have listing optimizations, personalized guest communications, and maintenance and operation, of course. Anything that you can proactively do, which is the focus of today's conversations, to get this operations and this manual work out of your hand, will, of course, help you then delivering an exceptional stay and that personalized guest experience that you want people to have, because the honest truth is that currently the guests are expecting that memorable experience. One of the tricks that TikTok is doing, for example, for a lot of the younger generations, is that you're showing them visually what experience they're going to have in your property. You cannot do that or fully do that if you're worried about how my listing is going, how much I need to price, are the cleanings being done in the property, et cetera, et cetera. So this is exactly where Doinn comes in. If you don't know us and you never have heard of us, I'll quickly introduce you into who we are and what we do. As I said before, we are in a very hyper competitive market. It's crucial to host owners and property managers to focus on increasing occupancy. That's really the goal of everything. Everyone wants to increment their ROI, and Doinn steps in as a trusted tech partner to simplify and optimize the critical tasks from cleanings. So whenever you just connect your PMS, your cleanings will be automatically created. Um, so you that will be already automated. It will be assigned to the cleaner that you want automatically. You won't have to do anything. Then the cleaner will see which property they have to clean directly on the Doing app, and you'll have real time notifications. And even because we know how complicated the cleaning teams are, and sometimes the the debates that can happen whether a property status was okay or not when it was delivered to the guest. We have created the Doing Quality Stamp, which is a unique double date and time stamp on photos that the cleaners upload to our Doing app. So anyone that uploads an app from your property, your room, your living room, it will have this double date timestamp, which actually gives you a real time proof that that property was delivered efficiently whenever the guest stay started. Um, that's it. I just wanted to give a quick intro. Really, we have been working, doing the brand has been around 10 years already. We work with more than 1,000 customers globally. As I said, we work with PMSs and we connect with most of the biggest PMSs in the industry. And then if we can't, we also work with the iCall calendar sync, so it's pretty easygoing, nothing that will complicate your life. And also Doing offers a very competitive pricing. Some of, for example, our customers that have come from Breezeway, which is our direct competitors, sometimes end up paying 50% less than they were used to. Of course, that's not the only reason you should come work with us, but I'll just leave it to that. And then I will leave the floor to Troy that has a lot of exciting things to discuss with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Roxana. Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in and kind of start the conversation around actually using your Wi-Fi to be able to develop a relationship with your guests and get them coming back. By and large, a lot of people just basically have this Wi-Fi system that's sitting, obviously super important to give guests access to the Wi-Fi so they can access internet, and that in itself is like a huge part of guest satisfaction. But most people don't really know that you can leverage that to make contact with people and deliver like a really unique experience that will translate into potentially having a guest for life rather than them just thinking about yourself as an Airbnb. Um, Sorry, next slide if you could. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So yeah, ultimately it all starts with collecting every guest's information, and there is a lot of different ways that you can do that. Some people will try to get the guest's info, before they arrive through an email or something like that, which can work, but isn't always guaranteed. Obviously, you have the reservation data that is afforded to you, but usually at most you can kind of just get the booker's information rather than everyone who's coming through the door. And you have sign up forms on your website, but at the end of the day, Wi-Fi is kind of the only way that you know for a fact that basically every single person that's going to come into the property is going to sign into the Wi-Fi. So it does make it a perfect natural collection point for you to first show your brand, introduce yourself, and then also make sure that you're getting, the email, phone number, etc. of anyone who's staying with you so that you can keep in contact with them. And ultimately, the more guests information that you have, the more ability you have to convert that into direct bookings and ultimately more revenue. Perfect. Thank you. So the way that Wi-Fi marketing works and the way that you can turn your Wi-Fi into, kind of this direct booking powerhouse is basically an entry point of a splash page. So a lot of people have seen this, in airports or cafes as you're coming through, and you kind of have to leave your information as a gateway into the Wi-Fi. Luckily, this kind of has been popularized to the point that people are very used to doing it, so it's not so odd as people are coming into your property. But what it allows you to do is, first of all, let them know who you are, because a lot of people, when they're booking through an OTA for the first time, aren't really thinking about you necessarily as your own independent entity. So it lets you, show off your brand, introduce yourself. And at that point, with whatever Wi-Fi marketing service you do end up using, we think it's really important to validate your email list as it comes through. So make sure that the CRM that you have of guests is accurate and real so that it doesn't affect your email marketing rates and things like that. But it is, like a quick, easy way to get that information and then be able to use it. Awesome. And then with any Wi-Fi marketing service, ultimately after someone passes through that gateway, you always have an opportunity to send them to another URL. Most of the time in an airport or something like that, they'll take the opportunity to show off shops and things like that. But for hosts, we really recommend that you send them somewhere that is going to be super useful to them and ultimately can make them have a better experience or further introduces your brand. So something that we do is actually offer like a customized landing page after the redirect URL. So as people come through that splash page, we have this pre-built space where you can direct people quickly to your guidebook. They can book again immediately if they want to, or they can browse other properties that you have. But one of the really nice things that we would definitely recommend doing is working with someone like the Host Co. or Viator. Ultimately, when people are coming to the property, at times throughout this day, they might not know what to do in the local area. And aside from the guidebook, it is really nice to offer some kind of service like the Host Co. where you can book a private chef to come in. You can do a guided yoga class. You can go on tours. You might want to book, some kind of like cheese making class or a local experience. So if people do have gap days or they're not sure what to do, you basically put yourself in the position where you're able to offer really unique, fun things to do that are commissionable, first of all, to you, but also are going to be connected mentally to your brand ultimately after their stay. So it is nice to know, if you find this really, really amazing experience that you've had through you rather than some website or something like that, and they know that you have other properties, in other locations, or if they come back to that location a lot, it gives you an opportunity to make a name for yourself and have people want to come back and be able to have access to those opportunities and experiences. Awesome. And now in terms of strategies for specifically maximizing direct bookings, which, obviously you save money a bit on OTA fees, but also just can increase occupancy in general to your unit. We would definitely recommend using an email marketing service. So, Wi-Fi marketing is really great for getting the information and, helping people have a really unique experience potentially, but ultimately you do want to make use of that guest CRM as well. So, our own email marketing service is particularly made for vacation rentals. There's obviously other options like MailChimp and things like that that might be a little bit less specialized, but we do recommend that you have a service. Ours is, specifically made to, give you email templates that welcome people when they sign into the Wi-Fi. After they sign out and they're over with their trip, it'll automatically send an email and you can ask for a review or give them, a discount on the next time they want to stay. Things like that. But, we have unlimited emails included, which most services do not. And also we can do some cool things with, PMS integration. So if you do integrate your PMS with us and you use this for email marketing, for example, you can automatically drop in property information as well to your emails. So you can automatically check whether or not there is, upcoming availability or last minute availability at somewhere. And, in lieu of maybe just waiting and seeing if someone's going to come through on an OTA, you can kind of take that into your own hands and email your guest list with that availability, some kind of discount, and get it filled. So, and then in addition to that, uh, in terms of like recommendations that we would have for email marketing or text marketing, it is really important to one, figure out kind of like what your marketing goals are. If you're just emailing people on a consistent basis to stay top of mind versus if you're emailing people with the goal of filling out your bookings for the next month, it is important to like set kind of an intention when you're coming up with your campaigns to make sure that they're suited for your goals. Kind of decide, is this something that I want attached to a trigger, or is it more suited to like a monthly newsletter or something like that? And determine, what would be best for whatever your goal is in that moment. So, and then I did want to also say that people overlook SMS as an option as well. So there are a lot of great SMS marketing services that you could use, but ultimately it is uniquely, everyone is going to see the text. Ultimately, it's like 98% open rates essentially for any campaigns that you're going to send, and lower unsubscribe rates than you would think actually. Most of the time, as you're sending through campaigns, the unsubscribe rate is like lower than 0.5%. So it is a really good way to stay in touch with people, obviously give them, discounts, things like that. And you can also tie them to kind of like rate and review campaigns as well. So if you're trying to get more reviews on your website, on Google, TripAdvisor, anything like that, it can also be a really good idea to leverage text marketing for that. Awesome. And yeah, and just a quick overview of StayFi and kind of what we do, how we connect to the whole conversation. We offer, all the tools and more that I had kind of gone over in the past. So we help you collect that guest information, centralize it in one place, make sure it's real, market to those guests specifically, connect you with kind of those companies that allow you to provide local experiences and things like that. And as kind of an added bonus, you can also check out the status of your Wi-Fi, make sure that it's running quickly, that it's not down before a guest is coming, and ultimately we have seen like a really, really like drastic drop actually in Wi-Fi problems, people reporting in and messaging you on Airbnb and being like, hey, why isn't this working? Can you please come fix it? It takes care of a lot of those issues before they happen. So. And yeah, just really quickly, going over kind of some case studies that we've had. We let the results speak for themselves, but a lot of people have used this kind of software to achieve 100% direct bookings in peak seasons. Cottage Stays is a good example of that, who has, I think, over 60 units. So they had that completely booked in the peak season, which was not the case the year prior before they had started focusing on direct bookings. A lot of people who spend a bit of time using the email marketing tools are seeing 24% click rates, which is really, really high, after they've delivered a really good service. But yeah, you can go ahead and check that out, at your own leisure.
Perfect. I think it's very interesting because having when I remember when I met StayFi, I thought this is so creative because at the end of the day, is what you were saying, it feels way less aggressive because you will still need to use the Wi-Fi, so guests won't feel like you're trying to chasing them at that point for further information, one. And then secondly, you're able to structure your database and think more thoroughly, as you were saying, what marketing actions you want to do with the database you're collecting, and more specifically, building that loyalty and then making sure the experiences for the guests are those exceptional stays that you want them to have.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to take, some of the power back from the OTAs and be able to like manage the business yourself and have those things under your own control. So,
Yes, definitely, definitely. And I think if that's what everyone is looking for now these days, right? Try to slowly get out of that um monopoly, let's say, that the OTAs are having and how they can really push their actual listings, their actual websites, so they depend less on that. And this is the great example of how to do that, thanks to Wi-Fi marketing. Amazing. So to wrap up everything we've just discussed, we wanted also to talk a bit about the perfect tool stack. This is a very interesting conversation that pops out every time we talk with, and I don't know you about you, Troy, but at any time we're on an event or we have a live meeting with the property managers or the host, everyone is really worried about what can I do to make this perfect tool stack. And it's curious because they always ask you, and you're like, well, it's not an easy answer to say, like, do this or that. It's really depending on the size of your current business. Where are you going as well? In this, when I was building this slide, I just Googled really quickly, and AJL Atelier has like this massive map with maybe more than 20 different tools. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, of course, anyone seeing that will get overwhelmed, because there are a lot of things. Not everything needs to be for your standards. Again, it will depend on how what's the size of your business and what are your um numbers and your expectations to grow. But indefinitely, and I'll let you to to pitch in your idea, Troy, for a sec. But at least for me, the best advice I always give is invest in tools that can grow with you. It's also another repetitive things that happens sometimes whenever you look for a PMS, you just Google, find three, maybe not three, just find one, and then just stick to that one that you find. And then whenever you start to grow, you see that you don't have certain amount of tools or features that you actually need to keep growing. So definitely my first advice would be invest in a tool that allows you to grow with them. Um, and you already know PMSs are part of that. So you cannot really survive with that. A lot of the PMSs, or at least most of them, have channel managers that can help you manage the OTAs as well. So have that in mind. Then in the finance and accounting part, I would say that for me, the most important part maybe is the pricing and revenue management, mainly because if your goal is to scale, you definitely need some help. There's a lot of data that the pricing and revenue management tools have now that it's impossible that one human brain have them all. So I would definitely advise that. Then, of course, on operations and maintenance, um, I would advise strongly to have it. As I was saying before, I think there will be a moment in the near future where this will be as a PMS. Like people won't be able to live without them, mainly because in a lot of places, um, the property managers are opting to have their own staff because there are a lot of rotation with the cleaners. There are a lot of problems finding people and quality cleaners that can standardize the processes in your properties. So that's why, for example, in Doinn, you are able to manage your staff as well within the platform. And then, of course, everything that Troy was talking about in regards of guest experience, guest communication is something you can also figure out with your PMS. A lot of the PMS solutions already have an option for guest communication. And then you'll be able to do the CRM and marketing thanks to a solution as StayFi. So maybe to go back to what I was saying, Troy, what's your take on the perfect tool stack? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely agree in terms of like scalability is not something that most people think about. So I feel like before you're going to jump in with almost any tool that would be like applicable to these categories, really taking a moment and thinking about one, is this solving a problem that I have right now? Because that's obviously what you need to take care of first. But if it's not incredibly urgent or it is something that you're going to be locked into for quite a while and it would be difficult to change, giving some thought to like what is my business going to look like in a year or 2 years, 5 years, and what am I going to need at that point, and there is certain tools where something like a PMS, you can immediately jump in and start using it. It will help. Something like StayFi, for example, where you're dealing with like you could get a messaging tool, for example. You can get an email marketing service, but if you don't have people to email, then you can't really use it. So there is sort of like this category of slow burn tools as well, where you know that you want to start emailing people, you need to start collecting their information for a while first, especially if you don't have too many units. You're gonna get four people, four people, four people, and ultimately like it will exponentially multiply and be really important, but there is a time investment that needs to occur for that to work out. Also, just realizing like at this stage of your business, because I have seen the mistake as well, if people will jump in, see like those 20 tools or whatever that you need, or people say you'll need, because ultimately they do have a function and purpose, but really think about whether or not it's something that your business needs at that moment. And also, if you need a bunch of things to be solved at once, it is important to take a look at like, well, whether or not this platform can do multiple things for me, versus segmenting every little tool between like 20 different platforms, because otherwise you can definitely drive yourself insane having to go a
Totally.
million different
Totally. That's
places.
so curious you say that because I was watching the other day a YouTube. Well, we all know like in SDR, there's so many people doing podcasts, YouTube, whatever. And there was this um video I was checking from a couple that was showing like what the tools that they use and everything. And it's true that whenever you see that tool stack, they will have like if I remember correctly, between 8 or 16 tools differently for very different things. So that point you said, like try to group your needs and see which provider can give you different things. Because just as I was saying, like the PMS can give you channel management, can give you guest communications, maybe it can give you something about pricing and revenue management. So you already have like some of the parts instead of having 10, 15 different um providers, because also there's a ramp up period for every one of them, right? And then you also have to see if they connect to your actual PMS, which nowadays is the Bible for everyone. So yeah, I think I agree definitely with that being said. You need to check out your, maybe do a chart like this one and see what are your priorities and then try to match it to an actual solution.
Yeah, 100%.
Amazing. Well, everyone, that's just our pitch in on the tool stack. We don't have a magic one that we can tell you. Um, just have in mind the pieces of advice that we just shared. I also think, just to wrap this up, that also the regions and how you're managing your business, it's also different. Um, I was just in an event in Madrid a month ago, and it's curious because in Europe, some of the guests will still like to have an actual person delivering keys and actually having a conversation with them. So a lot also this changes when you go ahead and see the regions and the cities and everything else. So definitely something to have in mind within your business as well. Okay, perfect. So, you already know about what I told you about doing. We are a solution focused on reducing the time you're spending on operational tasks, and maintenance issues and anything related to that. And what we wanted to wrap this webinar with was, we have two, well, one special discount from Doinn and then from StayFi if you want to start your journey with our softwares today, as a treat for coming to the webinar. So of course, if you're interested, take note of the code and then make sure to reach us out at our website. I think we don't have any questions at this moment. Um, I think we'll, I don't know if you want to mention anything else before we go, Troy.
No, I guess the only
No?
thing for me would be, yeah, if you're interested in checking out more about what we do, head over to our demo page. You can always watch like a free recorded demo that actually walks you through the software so you can see what you're going to be possibly doing, or you can always feel free to meet our team and walk through it and see if it's right for you and it's, something that could actually benefit you at this time. But yeah, no, I mean, thank you so much, Roxana, for having me on. I feel like this was a really productive conversation and I hope it was helpful for you guys watching.
I know, for sure. I think for sure. I think Doing and StayFi are two things that if you incorporate in your day to day will help you in this tech side of the business, while really people get the opportunity to transform the guest experiences. Something that I don't know if we mentioned before, but the reality is that the guest expectations are so high that the bar is really high. People are expecting this personalized experience much more than 2 or 3 years ago. Even there's, talk about immersive experiences and everything else. So things are changing very quickly. So this part, in terms of tech powering your business, needs to be something you need to pay attention crucially now, especially before any peak season, which for some of us is in summer, which is just around the corner. And just as Troy said, we hope that everything that we shared today was helpful for you guys. We encourage you to take the next step, explore how Doing and StayFi work and can transform your operations and get guest experiences. As Troy mentioned, or not, maybe, I can't remember. There will be a recording of the webinar that will be also sent shortly. So you can revisit everything that we just talked about, and you can also share with your team. And then finally, thank you again, everyone. And let's just continue using technology to create those exceptional stays, one innovation at a time. So that's all. Have a fantastic day.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.